Hey everyone, today I'll be giving you a quick overview of the Federal Judicial Clerkship. I actually just recently finished my 1-year clerkship at the district court level, but I'll be talking in a very general way about what a clerkship is and why people might be interested in doing one. So a federal judicial clerkship is one of the most prestigious and difficult to get jobs for a young lawyer who's right out of law school. In this video, I'll be speaking from my own experience at the district court level, which is the trial court level of the federal system. Of course, there are many different kinds of clerkships, including at the federal appeals court, at the Supreme Court, which you may have heard of, or at the state court level or with magistrate judges. So it can vary a lot, but in general, the contours of the job will be pretty similar. A clerk serves as basically the right hand to their judge, and most clerkships last for somewhere between 1 to 2, maybe 3 years. So it's a limited term position. You're there to really help out the judge a lot, and you're also there to learn as much as possible during that time. The work varies a little bit by judge and how they split it up, but in general, it involves reading the briefings and other filings from the parties in a civil lawsuit before that judge, and kind of doing legal research and then drafting either a memorandum or sometimes more often the opinion itself in draft form for the judge to review and discuss with you. Again, this can vary a lot by judge. Some judges want a memo before every opinion draft. Some judges are cool with you just writing the opinion draft. And the level of feedback that the judge gives also varies a lot depending on their workload and their sort of practice. But it's definitely possible in a lot of cases that the person actually reading the precedent of the law and kind of making a preliminary decision on how the case should come out is the clerk, and then the judge kind of reviews it, approves it, or disapproves it with maybe a brief discussion or a more in-depth discussion depending on the situation. It's kind of an interesting and odd system because you have a lot of the federal judiciary running through the hands of these clerks who are typically, bright people, ostensibly, but are also very inexperienced. I mean, most people go to a clerkship either straight from law school or maybe after a year or two of practice. It's not a situation where you have super experienced lawyers dealing with these cases. Oftentimes it's matters of first impression for those clerks. And in that position, the clerks actually have both a lot of power and not a lot, because of course everything that you do as a clerk is still subject to the discretion, the judgment, and the approval of the judge. But you do actually have a lot of responsibility in that role. So some of the features of the job are that it's not adversarial. So you're obviously not contending for one side over the other. You're writing in the neutral tone of the court, which is something that is both very useful and can take a little bit of getting used to if you're coming from practice where you've been in that adversarial mode as a litigator, for example. One of the major benefits of doing a federal clerkship is that it exposes you to all the different case types that come before your judge. And this is especially true at the district court level, which moves at a faster pace typically than the Court of Appeals, and where you deal with cases kind of on the ground floor with their facts, with the litigants as they first present the case to the court, with a lot of procedural steps involved in getting the case to trial or probably settlement. But the subject matter can vary a lot. So in my time as a clerk, I worked on and saw cases involving obviously the criminal side, some of it, but then on the civil side, cases involving civil rights, mass torts, wage and hour, employment issues, habeas corpus issues, Social Security, pretty much any type of case that you can think of that would end up in federal court, you have a chance to see. Another major benefit of doing the clerkship is getting a lot of writing practice. So at my clerkship, I typically would draft one opinion draft or order draft per week, which is a lot more writing than I did as a junior associate at a law firm, simply because it's a very writing intensive job in the first place, and because you have a lot of autonomy over, or I had a lot of autonomy over the management of those cases and was expected to do a lot of the preliminary work, if not all of it, to get that draft decision before the judge. It was a really great practice because I got to write a ton, I got to research a ton, and it was a way to really flex that muscle in a short period of time, and I think I improved as a writer a lot. And then of course, because you're in the courthouse every day, you have the chance to observe court a lot, depending on your schedule. So I have sat in on a lot of my judges' criminal matters, like sentencing hearings and things like that, to observe. And we also got to see some of the various stages of a civil case, such as preliminary hearings. And we don't really deal with discovery because that's under the magistrate judge's purview, but a lot of the preliminary hearings, the pretrial conferences, stuff like that. If things were a little bit weird with COVID delays, so I didn't actually get to see a civil trial, but I have seen and also helped with several criminal trials during that time. So it's great experience in familiarizing yourself with kind of the flow of a case before the judge, and also different attorney styles. In federal court, you'll see a wide range of style and also ability. We'll see pro se litigants who are representing themselves. You will see quote unquote top tier attorneys. You will see everything in between. So it also gives you a glimpse into how different people conduct themselves before the court, different argument styles, and the effectiveness of those approaches. Kind of related to that, if you're doing a clerkship in the area in which you want to practice in the future, you will become more familiar, especially at the district court level, with that practice in that area. So you will meet attorneys, or well, maybe not meet, but you will observe attorneys in the area. You'll meet other judges, other clerks. You'll kind of get a sense of the district, at least at a high level, so that, when you go to practice in that area, you will have a lot more familiarity with who some of the key players are in that area and how things work. And finally, a big benefit is the mentorship relationship with the judge. Hopefully, of course, judges are humans and not everyone is great, but hopefully you work with a judge who is invested in nurturing your skills, building you up at this early stage of your career, and can serve as a mentor during the clerkship and beyond. I was very lucky in that regard. So yeah, that is my very brief overview of what a federal judicial clerkship is. Some of it is applicable to other types of clerkships, some of it is not. So those are things that I don't have any experience of, so I won't be talking about them. But hopefully that gives you a high-level sense of what is involved. Applying to clerkships is very competitive and kind of specific to the school, the area, the judge, so I'm not really going to get into that either. But if you are interested in clerking, I think it's definitely something that is worth looking into. I had a great experience. It actually was one of my favorite working experiences I've ever had. I feel like I learned so much this past year and will definitely be able to use it moving forward. I already miss clerking, even though I've only been gone for like a week or two. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.